Real quick before we get into the review, just gotta thank the people over on Patreon, because without their support, a lot of this upgraded content you see on the channel would not be possible. And I gotta say, on top of being able to respond to you guys in the DMs, you know, one of the fun things about the Patreon is every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul, and there's a lot of good goodies in that one. You also get sneak peeks at videos that haven't made their way onto the channel yet. I'm still figuring out what to do for actual YouTube memberships, so leave a suggestion down in the comment section below. But with that being said, thank you so much for all of you guys' support, and now let's get into the review. Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto episode 199, and now that episode 199, which is titled Overload, is finally done and in the books, we have the conclusion of the Naruto versus Delta battle, and continuing the same theme that you saw last week. Essentially, this is the anime once again just kind of showing you the clear difference in power that exists between Naruto and Delta. Now, I've seen a few people, and I agree with it, a few people say, hey, the manga version of this fight, while it's very heavy on taijutsu, while it does have some moments where it does feel like it's a Dragon Ball Z type of a fight, the fact is that, you know, the fight in the manga felt more aggressively, it felt more aggressively drawn in the way that the characters' expressions were, and just the ferocity in the way that Delta was fighting. And I agree with you there. However, I do also understand the fact that the anime is trying to show you that there's still a major gap in power between Naruto and Delta. And so I like the fact that, you know, Naruto is still fighting pissed off, but one thing that you get in there is the fact that Naruto in the anime says something I've been screaming for the last 3 years, and something I've been saying over the last couple of weeks. Naruto is not fighting to kill Delta. Naruto is fighting highly suppressed. Naruto, yes, he's using his chakra mode in order to do so. He's giving the hands to Delta, but he's also holding back. He's using just enough power to try and knock her unconscious. You have to remember, Naruto is still fighting inside of Konoha. He's still literally fighting next door to the academy. The reason why you're not seeing people show up to help is Naruto's told Ino, don't let anybody come here, I'll handle the situation myself. Naruto is just pushing Delta to see what her capabilities are. That's why you see Naruto in the episode, he literally takes a punch to the head and there's no reaction from Naruto when he gets smashed in the head by Delta's fist. He doesn't feel the attack. Now, there's still a huge power gap between Naruto and some of these other car members. I will go ahead and say that. If you read the manga, you know exactly which members I'm referring to, but the fact is that Naruto, right now, Naruto is a lot stronger than Delta, and I think the anime actually did its job in highlighting that right there, because when you see it like Naruto, it's kind of like when you're playing basketball with your younger cousin, right? I'll use it for me, for example. When I play basketball with my younger cousin, I could dominate him anytime I felt like, but I'm using just enough skill, just enough speed, just enough strength when I back the kid down to where he has the opportunity to fight back. Now, if at any point I decide to get a little bit more serious with them, I'm going to use more actual exertion. When I play his older brother is 5 years older than him. His older brother is actually getting ready to start trying out for freshman basketball. So I have to play him a little bit more seriously. Now, I can still handle myself against him, but it takes a little bit more exertion. It does not change the fact that I still have him in size. It does not change the fact that I'm more skilled than he is. So it's the same thing that you're seeing here. Naruto's allowing Delta to use exertion. He's matching that level, and then he's exerting a little bit extra force in order to keep it competitive, while also trying to see how much more power does he have to actually use in order to actually knock her completely unconscious. The other thing Naruto's doing here is that Naruto's trying to gather intel. That's why Naruto tried to take Delta alive. He quickly learned after the battle ended that these car members are a lot like the Akatsuki. You're not going to capture them alive. They're going to kill themselves, or they're going to force you to actually kill them. And so I like the fact that, you know, Naruto at least tried. That shows that our boys come a very long way, because in the past, Naruto just would have gone completely balls out when it came to an opponent this strong. Naruto's fighting very restrained. That little scene where Naruto actually slams onto the ground, very well done. What I'll also say is that I did like the short taijutsu sequence where you see Naruto and Delta and they're kind of going back and forth, and you see the chakra auras flaring as they're zipping around the battlefield. And I like how Boruto says, like, Dad sure looks pissed. And it's like, yeah, Dad looks pissed, but Dad's also not trying to kill right now. I thought that was pretty cool, and I like how Delta becomes aware of the fact that Naruto's holding back, because you can see it when she starts getting irritated with the fact that Naruto's still swinging. Now, she does say, like, yo, I can't believe it. This dude's super strong, but his body is still human. He's gonna get tired at some point. Now, the thing you have to kind of keep in mind here is that when you're fighting somebody and you're attempting not to actually kill them, that takes more skill. That actually takes more of a strain right there, because you're withholding yourself a little bit. So I like that you see that, but Naruto goes from panting real hard to all of a sudden he's standing straight back up. So I like that little element right there, that it's like, yo, Naruto's still very much in control of this fight. And what I like in this moment here is the fact that the anime didn't just drag this fight out. That's one of the things I like, because in the manga this fight was like 3 or 4 chapters. So I like the fact that the anime made this fight feel very short and right to the point. And what I like here is that Naruto's looking at Delta and he says, like, look, I'm gonna hunt down all of you car guys. The only thing that I wish we would have had, there was actually a line in the manga where Naruto directly says, I'm going to hunt down Jigen. And the only thing that, you know, I can kind of understand here is I don't think Jigen's name has actually been said to Naruto at this point. But in the manga, Naruto directly says, I'm hunting down Jigen. Now, once we start going into the back end of the situation where Naruto walks up to Delta and Delta uses the I-beam jutsu, you see here once again Naruto's reflexes are fast enough to actually avoid the attack. And so you see Naruto and he uses the Rasengan, and Naruto is forcing Delta to actually push back on the attack. And what you see in this instance is the way that she pushes back is she attempts to absorb the chakra. And what you see very gradually over time is that Naruto goes from just using a really big Rasengan to all of a sudden using the Giant Rasengan and then the super giant Rasengan. Naruto's just increasing the amount of chakra he's putting in that attack very casually as a way to try and see how much Delta can actually use. And I'm okay with that, because again, Naruto knows that she can absorb chakra. The whole idea is that Naruto knows nothing else about those inner car members, and so Naruto's trying to see if there's a capability, a limit to how much they can actually absorb. That way, if they take her alive, once he assembles a team to actually go after the car members, in theory, they would have some information like, yo, this is how much chakra it's going to take. Now, for somebody like Naruto, this is also confirming that, look, there's gonna be a very short list of people that can actually go after Car. What I like here is the fact that, you know, Naruto's established the threat level of Car, and Naruto gets a little bit of trash talk in there where he's holding the super giant Rasengan and Delta's looking at her drone. She's like, oh shoot, my view with the drone's been severed. Think of that like how the Rinnegan allows you to see things from other eyes. And what you also get is the fact that in that moment, you know, Delta, there's a little bit of a plot twist that is in the process of happening. And I don't want to spoil because the anime didn't actually show it. Manga readers know what I'm referring to, but what I like in this moment here is that Naruto's bragging. He's like, look, I've always had way more chakra than the average person since way before. And Delta lunges forward and she's gonna attack Naruto. Naruto just jumps up in the air. He's like, man, it's probably been a long time, if not this being the first time since you've been hit by an attack like this. And Naruto takes his big super giant Rasengan and he comes all over Delta's face, and at this point, because Naruto is just pounding into Delta so hard, at this point, Delta's at that point to where Naruto cannot pull out. He's gone too far, and you just see how Naruto is just using so much chakra. The actual trees are just getting ripped up off of the ground. You see how the Rasengan itself is so much larger than Naruto's actual body, and that's something that I personally appreciate, because it just shows you the level of power that Naruto very casually can actually whip around. So I thought that that was actually a nice little element right there to actually see that. And once you see it, you know, Delta's been absolutely destroyed, and there's a little bit of fan service in that. Like, you see how, you know, half of Delta's boob is actually on display at this point, because she's got her body torn up, her clothes been torn and everything. She's sitting there with her legs spread. It's one of those things where it's just like Naruto really bust out a giant Rasengan on this chick. Like, that was nice to actually see the aftermath. And I like how, you know, Delta, after Naruto catches his breath, you know, Naruto's walking down to her and he's surveying the situation, and Kawaki, once he realizes that Delta's still alive, Kawaki's like, nah fam, this ain't gonna work, you making a mistake. And Naruto immediately sees the problem with that, is Delta's getting ready to self-destruct that version of her body. And I like that. So like I've been telling people for the last 2 years, you really need to think of Delta a lot like Sasori. The actual body that you see, there's going to be a separate heart for it. And you're going to see this likely in the next episode, that there's something else that's a part of Delta that houses her consciousness, houses a portion of her chakra, and effectively serves as Delta's heart. She needs that in order to actually operate that actual body. And what I'll end up doing is, once we get that actual anime episode, I'll go further into actually explaining some of the stuff that's going on with Delta and how that connects with other aspects of science in the Boruto world. Now, moving on, I actually like this extra information that we get with the character of Boro, and the confirmation of the fact that Kara is going to be doing its own version of Infinite Tsukuyomi. So one thing that I said, and I got called crazy for it, I said that Jigen essentially pulled a Black Zetsu / a Madara on all the Kara members and said like, yo, I'm gonna do an Infinite Tsukuyomi, and that's how all of the dreams of the Kara members were gonna actually come true. Boro is very aware of the Infinite Tsukuyomi. The only thing that I can say is that it does feel like there's a little bit of the actual details of how the Infinite Tsukuyomi actually works that the Kara members, they know a little bit, but they don't know all of it. Kind of like how Obito knew a little bit of it, but he didn't know all of what Madara had planned. I think that that's a similar type of a situation here, to where Jigen just told them just enough to get them to go along with the plan. And you gotta understand, these people do come off like desperate people because they've allowed Amato to actually modify their bodies. And what I like is how indirectly you're seeing more development of the character of actual Jigen. So I like seeing that, and I also like how, you know, Boro, what you end up seeing, Boro's going to all these sick people and he's holding out his hand, and all of a sudden he's curing their medicines. And now you're seeing how Boro is able to actually develop a religious cult and everything. And what I'll say, I'm going to go ahead and explain Boro's abilities, or part of his abilities, for anime only fans. I know some people are wondering what the hell's going on with them. So I'm gonna pull an emergency awesome news here, where I'm gonna go ahead and explain some of the stuff you're seeing there, because it's a little bit of an Easter egg. I'm just gonna stop short of going over spoiler, but essentially Boro, when it comes to his abilities, Boro has an ability that is linked with poison, and Boro also has an ability that is linked with antibodies. Now, the only thing that we don't know at this point is whether or not Boro, and it would make sense, whether or not Boro was the one who released that actual poison in the area. And so it would make sense why Boro's actually using his own antibodies for that poison to actually start curing the people in that actual village. That's the only other thing I can kind of think of right there, that Boro actually pulled something like this in order to develop a religious cult, because I don't think there's a situation where he's able to just create antibodies for every single sickness that is out there. This feels very specific to something that Boro has going on. So I like that little indirect development that you see there for the actual anime, and I like how you also get this moment to where Code and Boro have their little back and forth, and you get this moment to where Code says, I'm willing to actually use force to bring you back. Amato needs to see you for maintenance purposes, and you just see, once again, there's a power gap because Boro takes a look at Code, sees that look on Code's face, and realizes, yeah, I'm not gonna go back and forth with this dude. Again, you're seeing that there's a power gap, there's a power structure when it comes to the car organization. I think that that is very nice. I also like how Kashin Koji also looked over at Naruto and said like, yeah, that was impressive what you did, Naruto, but that's not gonna be good enough. Good enough is in reference to Jigen. So I like that, but what's annoying me a little bit is the fact that the anime is not directly dropping Jigen's name here. That's interesting. That is interesting right there to actually see that part right there. Now, the other thing I like is how Kashin Koji says Boruto's karma seal is going to be the key. So I like how they're building up the karma. I mean, overall, this was an okay episode, man. It was better than last week's, I will say that. And I do like the world building expansion with the character of Boro, but like I said, this was okay. This was an okay episode, man. Nice. The back end was a nice setup for the future. So my episode question for you guys is, how do you feel about there now being confirmation that Jigen has promised the car members the infinite Tsukuyomi, and it looks like Jigen has not actually told them the full truth of what happens when infinite Tsukuyomi takes place? How do you feel about that, and does this make you look at the car members a little different? And also, how do you feel about the Naruto versus Delta battle? Do you think that the anime did the right thing by portraying Naruto as being super superior to the character of Delta? Or do you think it should have been done a little bit more like the manga to where it really felt as if Delta was pushing Naruto in that battle? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Have an awesome day, guys.